Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and I did have a couple of requests to show how I colored the mermaid from this card, which I posted yesterday. I posted a video yesterday showing how I did the background to this card with Distress Inks and creating the underwater scene, and I had asked for folks to leave comments if they wanted to see how I colored the mermaid on screen, and several of you said that you did, so I'm going to go ahead and do a very quick coloring of this mermaid on camera for you guys. So let me go ahead and zoom in here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so again, I'm using a mermaid from the Mermazing stamp set from My Favorite Things, and of course I've zoomed in now, so you can't really see that. So I will have a full list of all of the Zig colors that I have used on my blog, and I will have a link to that below in the description section of this video. But I will also call out the various colors that I am using as I use them. So I will also do that on the video for you guys as we're going along. Okay, so I tend to start with the hair, and I only use two colors for her hair and my water brush. So the two colors that I used for her hair are dark brown and brown, and then of course my water brush, as I stated. So I have my piece of paper towel handy right here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So I always like to start when I'm working with the Zigs. I start with my darkest color first, and then I will do my light color and then my water brush. So I'm starting with my dark brown here, and I'm working in sections. So I'm just going to work on this little section of hair here first. And I'm putting my dark color where I feel that it's going to be the darkest. So kind of at the part of her hair and then down around her ears. And now I'm taking my brown color and I'm going slightly into the dark color and pulling that color down. Same with the bottom here, I'm pulling that color up, but I'm not going all the way down. I'm just going slightly into that dark color, pulling it up. Now, because I've taken a light color, which is the brown, a lighter color, and put it into a darker color and pulled that color down, I'm going to want to scribble the tip of my brown marker off onto my paper towel, just to get some of that dark color off. You're not going to hurt your markers, but that way when you go to use that brown color again, it'll be the perfect brown. It won't have any dark on the tip of it. Now I'm going to use my water brush to pull the colors together to meet in the middle. And all I'm doing is I'm just going slightly into that color with my water brush and pulling it up and down to meet in the middle where the white space is. And this I'll show you in just a moment how this creates shadow and shade in your hair. So you have here dark fading into a light shadow on her hair. So hopefully the camera is picking that up. Now I'm going to work on this little section here underneath her chin. And I really just I do go in sections. I think that it's easier to kind of go piece by piece. It keeps me a little bit more organized in terms of where the shadows are going to be. And also it keeps the color fresh and wet so that it can be pulled a little bit easier. So I've just done a little bit of dark under her skin, a little bit under her ear, and now I'm taking the regular brown color, which is the lighter of the two colors, pulled some of that dark color up, and now I'm taking my water brush and blending those colors out into the white space. So you can see that there's some dark here under her chin and under her ear, and it fades up into a lighter color to give you a little bit of that shadowy look. So now we only have this little piece of hair left in on this right side of her body. So I'm going to take the dark brown color, put some shading here right under her arm there, and I feel like it's also going to be kind of dark here at the tip, the bottom tip of her hair. Now I'm going to take my regular brown color and I'm going to pull that dark color out and then up as well. And now I'm going to take my water brush and pull down and up from the bottom to have those colors meet in the middle and form some light shading there in the middle. Okay, so we have the right side of her hair done. Now I'm going to kind of turn it so my head doesn't get in the way here, and we're going to work on this large patch of hair right up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the dark brown again, and I'm going to do a little bit more color here since this is such a larger section of hair, and I'm just kind of doing little strokes here of hair, and I'm coming around here. And I think that that's about as far as I'm going to go with the top section, and I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom of the starfish up. That's kind of how I separated this side. I'm going to stop at the starfish. Alright, so now I'm going to cap that, and I'm going to take my regular brown color, go slightly into this dark, and just pull that color out. And I know it might be hard, it might be hard to understand what I mean by pull that color out, but when you're actually working with these markers, it is quite obvious what's happening, because the markers are water-based. They react with each other and with water. And so you literally see the colors start to blend as soon as you put a marker on it, and then of course it blends when you put the water on it as well. So now I'm just kind of going down, pulling the color down and up and meeting in the middle where the white space is, so you have some shading there. And it creates a very, very lovely shaded color. And it took me a little while to find a good brown. I kind of played around with a bunch of different color combinations and ended up liking this one the best for darker brown hair. I find that blonde hair and red hair are actually very easy to do, surprisingly, but I found that a dark brown was kind of difficult. Now I'm just going to do this little strand of her bangs here that's right in front, and I just put a tiny little bit of the dark brown, a tiny little bit of the regular brown, and I'm going to take my water brush and just kind of blend that out. And of course, when you're dealing with littler pieces, you're not going to see as much of an exaggerated light to dark, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. It's just, it's going to be very subtle, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. So now we're just going to do this little section of hair here where I've done the dark around her chin and under her ear. Now I'm doing the regular brown, pushing that color up and down, and I always leave that white space here. I've left this white space where I can pull the color down to meet, and that'll give me the shading. Now I just have this very last piece here under her arm, and we are done with the hair, except I am going to show you a little bit how you can go back in and darken just a little bit with these Zig markers. So let's finish this first, and then I'll show you just a little bit what I mean by that. Okay, so as you can see, I think the right side looks great, but I think this section right here could use a little bit of work. Because it's such a larger section of hair, I want to go back in and darken it up just a little bit. And the great thing with these Zigs is that you can absolutely do that. You can go right back over what you just did to bring a little bit more color to it. I think that's a really great feature, because it kind of almost makes these markers feel, if you've ever worked with Copics, you can kind of some of the techniques in terms of how I work with the markers and the blending of the colors and the going back over the colors with darker and getting different gradients of shade. A lot of that is very similar between the Copics and the Zigs, and Copics are my background. That's kind of how I got my start in stamping and such. So that's helpful for me in terms of going back to something I'm familiar with. So I just kind of fixed a little bit that left side there to how I wanted it. Now, if you are, speaking of Copics, if you are used to working with Copics, you'll probably recall that when we had these bigger images with lots of hair, we would actually do flicking movements and draw the hair in. I don't do that with my Zigs because they are watercolor markers, and watercolor's a little less predictable. But you can do that with these markers if you want to. And what all you would do, and I'm not going to do it on this, I'm just going to do it up here on some of this blank paper up here, but you would just kind of do a little bit of flicking, and you can actually create strands of hair if you want to do that. I kind of played around with it, and I did find that you could do it with these markers, and as you can see, I've kind of created a little bit of that right there, as you can see. So you could easily do that back into your image here if you wanted to, but I think she looks just fine as she is. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop playing around with her hair just to move the video along, and I'm going to do her top next. And for her top, I only used one color, and that's turquoise green. So I just put a little bit around the outside edges of her top, I'm going to take my water brush and pull that color in. And so it meets in the center there and gives us some shading. So now we're going to work on her tail. And for her tail, I did a little bit of multicoloring. I used 2 colors and blended them together to create a 3rd color, which I love to do with the Zigs. It's like watercolor painting. It's awesome. So I used purple and turquoise green and of course my water brush. So the first thing that I did, and I'm going to turn her so I can see a little bit better. The first thing that I did is I took my purple. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Okay. I took my purple and I just scribbled a line on the the right, if you're looking at the image correctly, it would be the right side, because I feel like the sun's coming this way. If that makes sense, I feel like it's coming across this way, so this part of her tail is going to be lighter. So I'm scribbling on some purple, where it's going to be the darkest, on this left side of her tail. It would be the right side if she's not upside down. And that I kind of picked that because that's sort of how the image was facing, and that's what it looked like to me. Now I'm going to scribble on the turquoise green in a kind of a line right next to the purple that I just laid down. And I'm going to go a little bit into the purple and then pull that color out. Now I'm going to scribble off so the purple gets off of my turquoise green marker, and then I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to go back into the purple, pull the purple out. And as you can see here, and hopefully the camera is picking it up, you're still going to be left with kind of a little bit of purple, a little bit of the turquoise green, and then this new color that you're creating, which is this really pretty purplish blue color. And I'm going to hold this up a little bit better to the camera, so hopefully you can see it even better. But you have a line of purple that nicely fades, and you have a little bit of the turquoise, and then you have the purple blue. And I just love that you can do that with these markers. That is something I could never personally accomplish with Copics, and I really love that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the fins. I'm going to do a purple line here and a purple line here. It's going to be less dramatic, of course, on the fins because it's a much smaller area that I'm coloring, but you'll still be able to see the blending that you can get when you're mixing these 2 colors together. I've said in other videos before, it's exactly like painting almost, you know, like when you would mix colors if you were into watercolor painting. You get to create such pretty shades and colors, and you can do that with a marker. I never thought that would be possible with a marker, but it is with these Zigs. And I want to reiterate, I've said this in other videos before, I am not in any way associated with Zig or any store that sells Zigs. I am just a crafter. I don't work for anyone. I just love sharing crafting, and I love to teach, and so that's all I'm doing with my blog and my videos. I'm sharing what I love with you and how I do techniques with you. I'm not saying this is how it should be done. This is just what I do to create my projects, and so if you like my projects, I'm just showing you how I do it. There's no right or wrong way to do things, in my opinion. Art is art, and it's all beautiful. So just kind of a little caveat there. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly color her, the starfish in her hair. I used brown, the same brown that I used for the lighter color in her hair, and yellow. So I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of brown in this corner here, because again, I feel like the sun's coming this way. So the starfish is going to be darkest on the right side. So I put a little brown there, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow, pull that brown out, wipe off or scribble off the brown off the tip of my yellow marker, and then take my water brush and blend that out. And I apologize for my voice. I'm still fighting this sinus infection, so that's why I sound so funny. Okay, all we have left to do now is the skin, and I'm using 2 colors for that. I'm using blush and a flesh color, and that's literally what it's called. It's called flesh color, so it's very aptly named. And I'm going to do her skin, and then I'll show you how I do the cheeks at the end. So again, I will always start with the darkest color, and for skin, that's the blush. So I'm going to just kind of go around her face. Her face, in my opinion, is going to be a little darker here on the right side. So I'm going to put a little bit more of the darker color on that right side. So it looks like a hot mess right now, right? Then I'm going to take my flesh color and in a circular motion kind of pull that darker color out. Because again, these colors are kind of going to meet in the middle where it's going to be lightest, and our water is going to help pull all of that out. Now I'm going to take my water brush and blend these colors out to the middle here where they're going to meet, and it's going to be shaded very nicely. So hopefully you can see that. I just realized I left one little piece of her hair, this little tendril of hair right here. I forgot to color that. So I'm going to do a little bit of dark brown, a little bit of brown, and then I'll use my, use my water brush to bring those together, to pull those colors together. Okay, so there we have that. Now I'm going to do her ears, and I'm going to take the darker color first, which is the blush. I'm going to go in along the bottoms here of her ears. And then we're going to take the flesh color, pull that color up, and then we'll take our water brush and let it do the rest of the work. Just blend those colors up so we have some shading there. So sorry guys, excuse me. Now we're going to do this arm over here. So I'm going to take some of the darker color, which is the blush, and just kind of do some highlights on that arm. Take the flesh color, pull the color from the blush out. And so now we just kind of have some white space still showing, if you can see that. And I'm just going to take my water brush and pull the colors together and into the middle so that the colors blend together and create a shadow. Now I'm going to take the blush again and do this arm, her right arm. So it's going to be darkest along the bottom and at the top of her shoulder. I'm going to take the flesh color, pull the color out, and I tend to work in circular motion, sometimes in smaller spaces. That's not entirely possible, so I just do little tiny brush strokes like this. You can see that, and pull the color up that way. And then I take my water brush and pull the color out so it meets each other. All right, and now I'm going to take the blush again and go under her top and along the side here where I feel like it's going to be darkest. I'm going to take the flesh color, pull that color out, and then take my water brush and pull it all so we have some nice shadow. And really that's all I'm looking for. I've said before in many of my videos, I am not an artist. I'm not a professional artist. I'm not any kind of artist whatsoever. So I don't know where artistically, you know, like they would train you in school, where shadows are, where I don't know much about perspectives and creating these gorgeous scenes that so many YouTubers can do. That's not my thing, and that's okay. That doesn't have to be your thing to still create beautiful cards. All I like to see, what's pleasing to my eye, is that there's differences in color, that there's some lighter shades, there's some darker shades, and I can just see shading. And I'm not so worried if that shading is correct in an artistic fashion. I just want it to look kind of nice. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I like to feel like an artist, and maybe, you know, maybe I'll get better and learn those things. I'm definitely not opposed to learning those things at all. I just don't know them right now. So that's kind of where I'm at. So the last part that we're going to do is we're going to do her cheeks. And for her cheeks, I'm going to use an almond pink. And I'm just going to do, and sometimes I like to practice first. I'm going to show you what I do, because I'm just going to do a little circular motion on both cheeks like so. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, for some reason this always makes me nervous. And I'm just going to do a little, I guess because I've spent all this time making this, coloring this, and I don't want to mess it up now, because I can't tell you how many times I've blobbed on the cheeks or totally messed it up. So, I've put on the little circles, just like I showed you up here, just circular motion with the marker. And then I'm going to take my water brush, make sure it's cleaned off. And I'm just going to kind of go in a circular motion on top of that and kind of blend it in a little bit. And I'm not like pulling the color out or pushing it in any way. I'm just going right on top of it. And all that does is kind of blend it into the cheek. And then I'm going to go over top of it one more time with the marker to kind of create these cute little rosy cheeks. All right, and there you have it, guys. Now, one thing that you can do, there's not a whole lot of contrast on her arms in terms of shading. So I'm going to go back over it really quick, and again I just want to show you how you can go back over these again just like you would with your Copics if you're familiar with Copics, and kind of redarken and reshade so you get a little bit more contrast in the shading. So now you can probably see there's a lot more contrast in the shading of that left arm. Now you can probably also see I went out of the lines a little bit right here on this arm. No big deal at all. Squeeze your water brush onto your paper towel so to get the water really flowing. Make sure your water brush is nice and clean, and now take clean water and push that ink off. And then take your paper towel and dab it up. And I don't know if it's going to show on camera, but that going out of the line is gone. It's no longer out of the line. That is a tip that I learned. When I worked with Copics, I was used to having that zero blending tool that you could use to you know, actually get the color off if you went out of the lines. So I thought, I wonder if you can do that with Zigs. And so I just used a clean water, and I'll be darned if it didn't take that marker right off. And there's no evidence now that I went out of the line. So that's a really great tip. It also works for darker colors, but you have to be careful. So in other words, if I had gotten some of this brown out of the line here for her hair, I would dry with my heat tool and get this all nice and dry, and then push the color back in with the clean water brush and dab it, and it will work. It just, you have to go at it a little bit more when it's a darker color. So the very last step that I do when I'm coloring fun images like mermaids is I take my Wink of Stella glitter pen. Wait until this is completely dry, and if you want to speed that process up, just take your heat gun and dry it, and then you would just go over this with your Wink of Stella glitter pen. And the reason why I say wait until it's dry is because the liquid that's in your Wink of Stella pen, it almost serves as water. You can actually blend with your Zigs with this as opposed to a water pen if you wanted to. It actually works, you know, very similarly. So you don't want to reactivate that paint, or you know, that's in the markers when they're wet. And it still can reactivate a little bit once it's dry. So I'm just very careful when I'm doing that. When I'm doing my Wink of Stella pen, just stay in the lines, just you know, just to be safe. And you should be just fine. So I would go over the whole mermaid with the Wink of Stella, but for purposes of the video, I'm going to stop there with her hair. And so there you have it, guys. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them or do more tutorials or whatever you guys need me to do. I'm happy to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, here was the little card that we created. So here's the mermaid in action. And you can see there how easy she was to color. I color this whole thing live for you guys right now. And if I can do it, you guys can do it too. So please, any questions, leave me a comment, send me an email. I'm happy to answer them, and I'm happy to do more tutorials. Just let me know what you guys want to see. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.